From the moment I was born, I carried memories of my past life. I've performed as a street artist, worked as a courtesan, reformed my ways, and even bore a daughter. When I died, my daughter was only 8 years old. Not wanting her to follow in my footsteps, I coughed up blood while desperately warning her with my dying breath. Don't be a prostitute, don't be a prostitute, don't be a prostitute, be an upright and honorable person. Until that year, when rumors spread through the capital that Courtesan spent a fortune just to make a beauty smile, I happened to see a portrait of that courtesan. The woman possessed devastating beauty, alluring yet refined, though her heart was cold as ice, with wisps of melancholy lingering between her brows. Countless princes and nobles knelt before her skirts, yearning to pluck this aloof gardenia blossom, yet I recognized her at once. She was my daughter from a past life. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. For the poor, beauty is but a burden. Perhaps heaven took pity on me this lifetime. I was born into an ordinary family with plain features. I managed to live safely until the age of 15. That year, when I turned 15, my parents passed away, and I entrusted my younger sister to my uncle's care. By washing clothes for others and selling embroidery, I finally saved enough for the journey. I set out alone on the journey to the capital, to find someone, to find my daughter from a past life. When I returned to the capital, I was 16 years old. My Gia must be 24 now. I wonder if she's already become someone's wife, someone's mother. When I died, she was only 8 years old. At that innocent, naive age, witnessing me being violated and drained of blood until death, she must have been utterly terrified. But I couldn't comfort her. Could only reach out my blood-stained hand to stroke her face again and again. Gia was still young, yet her beauty was already beginning to show. I feared she would follow in my footsteps, feared I could no longer protect her in the future, so with my last strength, I warned her repeatedly before death, don't become a prostitute, don't become a prostitute, don't become a prostitute, to be an upright and honorable person. Since ancient times, it was never that beauties were fated to suffer, but rather that beauties found it hard to survive. I had clearly reformed, wearing my hair in a married woman's bun, supporting myself and my daughter through embroidery, and peacefully waiting at home for my husband to return triumphant from the imperial exams. Yet because my past as a courtesan became known, in broad daylight, a gang of ruffians broke into my home, raped me, and left me dead. Once a whore, always a whore. Letting you die in ecstasy is already a heavenly blessing from us. After the villains finished venting their rage and left, Gia, whom I had hidden in the rice jar, stumbled toward me in tears. Mother, don't sleep. Don't leave Gia. She was so small, yet her tears were so abundant. Her tears mingled with the blood on my hands, smearing her entire little face. Yet I could no longer wipe away her tears as before, nor hold her in my arms to comfort her. In the final moment before death, my hand fell powerless into the pool of blood. I died with unclosed eyes. Shedding one last tear of unwillingness, only one thought remained in my mind. My Gia, who lost her mother at just 8 years old, what will become of her now? The capital remains as bustling as ever. For a moment, I was at a loss. I knew not where to find my Gia. The wooden house we once lived in had long since collapsed in the wind and rain, reduced to a handful of yellow earth. Those who were once familiar to me have all vanished without a trace. After much effort, I only managed to uncover one thing. My husband from my past life, Yi Linen, has risen to the pinnacle of power, becoming the prime minister of the court. He now has a wife and children, living in a loving and harmonious family. After my death, Gia must have followed him. I long to see them once more, yet I fear my sudden appearance might disturb their lives. Just as I hesitated, rumors began spreading wildly through the capital. Courtesan was lavishing fortunes to win a beauty's smile. This had nothing to do with me originally, until I accidentally caught sight of the courtesan's portrait, and my blood froze in an instant. That was unmistakably my Gia, my daughter, whom I carried for 10 months. I had only seen her from her babbling infancy until she was 8 years old, yet 16 years later, I could still recognize her at a glance. Why, when her father was the current prime minister, did she not acknowledge him, instead, disregarding my dying pleas? She resolutely embarked on this path of no return. I dared not dwell on it. My Gia, all these years without a mother, how much suffering have you endured? The woman in the portrait bore an 80% resemblance to my younger self, a breathtaking beauty. Yet her brows were knit with an unfathomable sorrow. Rumors swirled that she was a master of social maneuvering, dancing between Prince An and Prince Ning, her icy demeanor merely a facade for a courtesan's fickle heart. Others whispered that though she appeared untouched by worldly desires, she harbored extreme jealousy, ruthlessly eliminating any maidservant whose looks could rival her own. I didn't believe these tales, or perhaps, I simply didn't care. I only know, Rongji is my daughter, and I am her mother. I must go protect her. That night, I packed all my belongings, and the next day I appeared at the Spring Breeze Pavilion, to apply for the position, the one with an alarmingly high mortality rate. As people say of a courtesan's maidservant, "Are you from Jinling?" When the matron brought me before Rongji, Prince An had only just left. Behind the curtains, a shadowy figure could be glimpsed, hinting at peerless grace. I lowered my head, suppressing my inner excitement, and nodded in affirmation. Gia, who had just finished her greetings, seemed somewhat weary, her voice carrying an extreme chill. Yet upon hearing I was from Jinling, she couldn't help but ask a few more questions. "If you're from Jinling, what brings you to the capital?" With my current appearance, anyone could tell at a glance I hadn't borne children yet, making it difficult to say I was here searching for a daughter, so he made up a story on the spot, saying his family had met with misfortune and he had come to seek refuge with distant relatives, but he was driven out with nowhere to go, so he had no choice but to apply to be a servant. Driven out. Hearing this, Rongji lifted the curtain. His gaze swept indifferently over my plain, unremarkable face, yet her features were breathtakingly beautiful, skin like congealed cream, brows like distant mountain peaks. Though an unshakable chill clung to her entire being, she asked me a question no one had anticipated. "Do you know how to make Osmanthus lotus root?" "I'm craving Osmanthus lotus root from Jinling. Perhaps it's because of my Jinling heritage, since I was also from Jinling in my past life. Asking this question meant I'd been kept on. Maybe it's because this utterly ordinary face happened to meet her requirements. In short, fate had silently helped me once again. I looked up at her in a daze and answered truthfully. Yes, Osmanthus lotus root is a specialty pastry from Jinling. Stuff the lotus root with glutinous rice. Add rock sugar and brown sugar, then boil until soft and sticky, remove, slice, and drizzle with Osmanthus syrup. The taste is sweet and fragrant, lingering on the lips and teeth. In front of my previous home, there happened to be an Osmanthus tree. When it bloomed, the fragrance filled the air, and Gia would always pester me to make Osmanthus lotus root for her. After 16 years, I finally had the chance to do it for her once more, to watch her eat it with my own eyes. Piece by piece into her mouth, not hungry, yet as if under some spell, unable to stop. As usual, I spoke up to remind her, "It's too sweet, don't eat too much or you'll get cavities." A long while passed. Rongji turned to look at me, her eyes held a faint redness. I instinctively pulled out a handkerchief and wiped the sugar stain from the corner of her lips. As she spoke those words, my hand trembled almost imperceptibly. Do all people from Jinling make Osmanthus lotus root the same way? The taste, it's very similar to what I've had before. I have indeed considered revealing my true identity to Gia, yet the notion of reincarnation is too ethereal and difficult to accept. I can see that Gia now carries a heavy heart, burdened with unresolved troubles. After much deliberation, I suppressed my impulse, unwilling to tell her that I am her mother reborn, to avoid adding unnecessary burden to her for no reason. Simply staying quietly by her side like this was also good. After that day, Rongji was satisfied with my skills and kept me by her side as a personal maid. Along with me, another girl named Xiaoman was also chosen. Xiaoman was naturally vivacious and strikingly beautiful. Having lived 2 lives, I possessed a composure that far exceeded my peers. Only when Prince An came looking for Gia would I find myself unable to resist pulling Xiaoman aside to offer a few words of advice. Gia's gaze was icy, so cold it made one shiver. I advised Xiaoman to stay away from Prince An and not to do anything foolish, but she shook off my hand, calling me old-fashioned and rigid. "Alan, You don't understand. I deliberately made myself look ugly to get selected as the courtesan's maid. I didn't do it to be someone's servant for life. Princesan has always loved beauties. Rongji is already 24, she'll grow old someday, won't she? But I'm in my prime, as long as I show myself before His Highness Princesan more often. He'll notice me eventually. Fortune favors the bold. How would you know without taking a chance? Xiaoman's eyes sparkled with anticipation as she spoke these words. Dreaming of the future, good advice falls on deaf ears. The more I said, the more I annoyed her, so I simply stopped speaking. As expected, 3 days later, the other bed in the maid's quarters was cleared out. According to the brothel servant who moved the body, Xiaoman's entire face was slashed to pieces. Her eyes wide open, she had died with a grievance. She was bolder than anyone before, taking advantage of Jia's absence to privately offer herself to Princesan. From this perspective, she was truly just one step away from ascending to wealth and nobility, yet Princesan did not protect her. She ultimately paid the price for her audacity, forcing Jia to personally kill her. As usual, I carried a bowl of osmanthus lotus root into Jia's room. The room was thick with the smell of alcohol. With a soft sigh, I placed the osmanthus lotus root before her and bent down to pick up the liquor bottles scattered on the floor. The drunken Jia was no longer the image of an aloof beauty, instead showing a more childish side. She tugged at my sleeve, stubbornly asking who had taught me the craft of making osmanthus lotus root. I had no choice but to answer. This skill was taught to me by my mother. In the future, I will teach it to my own daughter as well. Mother, she murmured. Then chuckled softly. I didn't quite catch what she said. Then, holding back tears that threatened to spill, she began chattering away to me. Alan, I've killed someone. Aren't you afraid of me? I once had a mother too. My mother was the kindest person under heaven. If she were still alive and knew I'd become a courtesan and killed so many, her heart would surely break. I have no face left to see my mother again. Setting the wine bottle aside, I sat down beside her, letting Jia rest her head against me as I gently patted her back. Don't be afraid, because I've killed people too. Xiaoman held her breath, pretending to be dead. I followed her to the mass grave and delivered the final blow. After spending some time together, I knew Xiaoman was someone who would seek revenge for the slightest grievance. Keeping her alive might pose a threat to Jia in the future. As a mother, it is my duty to clear away any potential harm for my child, in both lifetimes. This was the first time I had ever killed someone. For my daughter, Rongji's body stiffened slightly, and I continued speaking, my voice unconsciously softening with maternal tenderness, as if comforting a child who thought they'd done wrong. If your mother were still here, she would never blame you. She would only feel heartbroken for her daughter, who has suffered so much. Princesan had some genuine affection for Jia, but not much. He claimed to love her, yet never refused the advances of other women, because he loved seeing Jia get angry and jealous for him. He relished women vying for his affection, and even more so enjoyed watching a pharaoh-like being descend to the mortal world for him, tainted by anger, obsession, love, and hatred. All Jia did was to cater to him, to satisfy his peculiar desires. The truth behind the rumors of the courtesan's jealousy and her cruel treatment of beautiful maidservants was just that. Jia refused to kill. The night she killed for the first time, she sat in numb silence until dawn. The corpse on the ground merged with her mother's deathbed agony, becoming her perennial nightmare. Until later, time and again, she gradually grew numb, yet she still refused to kill more people, so she spread rumors of her own jealousy and cruelty, hoping to deter those naive young girls. But it was all in vain. Wealth dazzles the eyes. Approaching Rongji meant getting closer to Princesan, and no one could resist such temptation. In King An's eyes, it was merely an amusing little game to spice things up, yet it required sacrificing so many lives. It forced Jia to bear such an unbearable reputation. There's only one thing I don't understand. Since Prince Ning also held considerable affection for Rongji, why did it absolutely have to be King An? My intuition tells me this concerns Jia's deepest secret, that is, the real reason she defied my dying wish and walked the path of the fallen. Naturally, in my current position as her maid, if she doesn't speak of it, I won't ask. All I need to do is protect her with all my might. Just a few days after Xiaoman's death, Courtesan arrived in high spirits. At that time, Gia was leaning against my leg, letting me gently massage her temples. She had been utterly exhausted these past few days, unable to get a good night's sleep. Courtesan entered without the slightest regard for my presence, grabbing Gia and tearing at her clothes. "My dear Gia, you've done well. How about this? From now on, I won't visit those other women and will only cherish you, Gia." I was restrained by Courtesan's guards, and in my desperation, I blurted out her childhood name. Gia's figure trembled violently, and in the next moment, she pulled the hairpin from her head without hesitation, pointing it at her own delicate, flower-like face. "Rongji is unwell today and cannot serve your highness. If your highness insists on taking me by force, I will have no choice but to disfigure myself to prove my resolve." Courtesan released her with a cold snort. His eyes filled with mockery. "Rongji, I do admire your unyielding nature, but don't overdo it. If you play the whore, then act like one, understand, you." Yet in the next moment, his pupils suddenly contracted, torn between fury and helplessness. The sharp hairpin left a bloody scratch on Rongji's face, making Courtesan's heart ache unbearably. It was his favorite face. Gia looked at me with an inscrutable gaze, as if something in her eyes was on the verge of shattering. Summoning her last strength, she enunciated word by word, "Not today, absolutely not today. I don't like being in front of others." Courtesan sneered several times, repeated the word "good" 3 times, then turned and left in anger. Released by the guards, I immediately returned to Gia's side, yet she refused to let me touch her no matter what I said. She kept asking me over and over if she was dirty. I held her tightly, comforting her with all my might, and told her again and again, "You're not dirty." "Why?" "No reason. The first time I saw you, I thought you were pure. Under heaven, no mother would ever consider her own daughter unclean." News of Gia's unpleasant parting with Courtesan spread like wildfire. Prince Ning soon learned of it and personally came to offer comfort. He was a gentle and courteous man, at least on the surface. Gia treated him coldly, emphasizing that she belonged to Courtesan. He wasn't angered, simply laughed it off, and even sent her various precious jewelry and tonics. Gia didn't want them, but under the pressure of his authority, she had no choice but to accept. Each item was priceless, dazzling to behold. The imperial household is indeed the epitome of extravagance. The current emperor, physically weakened and without heirs, sees Prince Ning and Prince An as the strongest contenders for the throne. The court has also split into 2 factions because of them. Since Gia accepted Prince Ning's gifts, she's bound to fall out of favor with Prince An. The two had already developed a rift, and with this incident, Prince An wouldn't be visiting the Spring Breeze Pavilion for a long time, inadvertently giving certain people an opportunity to exploit. Yi Yunqiao was the top courtesan of the Red Pavilion. She envied Gia and imitated her in every way. Though their looks differed, her grace and figure were nearly identical to Gia's. Both being top courtesans, Gia always overshadowed her. For a long time, jealousy had festered into hatred, and she saw Gia as a thorn in her side. Coincidentally, Prince Ning was the most esteemed guest at her table. News of Prince Ning sending gifts to Gia soon reached her ears. She sensed an opportunity, knowing this was the perfect moment to eliminate her rival, and so, it was an ordinary night. After helping Gia with her bath, I was about to clean up. Another maid came in to assist. The next moment, she pulled out a dagger from her bosom and recklessly charged at Gia. She moved with lightning speed, her face twisted in ferocity. And in the blink of an eye, she was right in front of the person. Rongji, prepare to die. The sudden crisis left Gia completely unable to react. The water basin in her hands clattered to the ground. Strength surged from nowhere. My body moved faster than my mind. Before I could even process it, I was already sprinting forward, firmly shielding her from the viciously descending dagger. "Don't be afraid, Gia, mother's here." The muffled sound of the dagger piercing flesh reached my ears. The maidservant went mad, stabbing me several times in a frenzy. By the time she realized she'd stabbed the wrong person, it was too late. Gia snapped back to her senses, snatched the dagger, and finished her off with a forceful blow. The maidservant collapsed heavily onto the ground. I couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed weakly. Rongji was splattered with blood, her pristine white clothes soaked through. Like a demon from hell, She turned around, trembling as she embraced me. Wailing uncontrollably, her shoulders shook violently, broken like a child. I was unconscious for many days. When I woke up, Rongji was asleep by my bedside, cold. Hearing her murmur, I shared a bit of the blanket with her, but accidentally woke the person up. Seeing me awake, the light in her eyes gradually gathered. She hurriedly got up to pour me water. Only after watching me drink the water did she feel slightly relieved. She didn't ask why I risked my life to save her. And I didn't know how to bring it up. In the heat of the moment, that blurted out phrase, Gia probably didn't catch it, right? It's better if she didn't hear. This way, she won't blame herself and can live a little more lightly. During the days I was unconscious, I missed many things. Perhaps because of my life-saving act, she took me as a confidant and was willing to tell me everything. It turned out that the maid that day had been bribed by Yi Yunqiao to kill Gia. Gia said she would definitely seek revenge for this in the future. Not now, unfortunately. She spoke of Courtesan again. These days, she had reconciled with Courtesan as before, and no one would dare harm us anymore. Finally, to my surprise, she took the initiative to talk about the past with me, reopening those old wounds. It turns out, all these things I've been wondering about, she had seen them all along. My original name was Yi Ji. My biological father was Yi Linan, the current prime minister. My mother died when I was 8. She came from poverty, once a celebrated courtesan in her prime. After being with my father, she used her life savings to support his imperial examinations, begged him to redeem her freedom, bore his children, and gave up her former life to become a housewife. But that day, a group of thugs came. My mother hid me in a rice vat, and I watched helplessly as they raped and murdered her. With her dying breath, she made me promise never to follow in her footsteps. To her last moment, she believed it was her past that doomed her. Little did they know, it was all meticulously planned by the heartless Yi Linan. After passing the imperial exams, he hooked up with the daughter of the Minister of Works. How could a noblewoman become a concubine? If word got out that his first wife was once a prostitute, how could he smoothly climb the ranks? So he decided to go all the way, killing both the lowly woman and the daughter she bore him. My mother shielded me with her life. That's how I survived. Rongji, overwhelmed with emotion, her eyes brimming with boundless hatred, wiped away her tears and continued. Once, I too thought it was all just an accident. Finding Yi Linan would mean avenging my mother, but the truth was, he couldn't tolerate me at all. He wanted me dead, pretending to the outside world that he was raising me in his mansion, while in reality torturing me in new ways every day, until I was left with barely a breath, then dumping me in the wilderness. He said, as a man well versed in the teachings of sages, he wouldn't lay hands on his own child, so he abandoned me to fend for myself. He was certain I would die, but little did he know, I was tougher than he thought. Eating tree bark and wild grass, I somehow survived. Later, I took my mother's surname, Rong, and became the Rongji you see today. Alan, I survived. For my mother, and for myself, I will have my revenge. I was left speechless for a long time. So this was the truth of the matter. My death was no accident, it was all orchestrated by Yi Linan. That beast wouldn't even spare his own daughter, determined to eliminate her too. At last I understood why Gia ultimately became the top courtesan of Spring Breeze Pavilion. She was driven to desperation. Without selling her charms, she could never have survived to adulthood, and I finally comprehended why she endured the revulsion to feign courtesy with Courtesan. Yi Linan was a member of Prince Ning's faction. If Prince Ruo ascends the throne, Yi Linan will surely meet a terrible end. But what worries me most is my Gia, my daughter. She sacrificed her entire life for revenge. After saying these words, Rongji seemed drained of all vitality. Sitting silently without a word, with great effort, I raised my hand and touched her face. Just like when she was little, I gently patted her head. In the face of her astonished gaze, I hoarsely told her, I'll stay with you. In my past life, I failed to protect my daughter. This time, I will definitely walk this path with her. During my recovery period, I grew much closer with Gia. She treated me as her confidant. Even after her injuries healed, she insisted on eating and living together with me. So much so that Courtesan had grown accustomed to my presence whenever he came to visit Gia. Learning from the previous lesson, Jia treated Princesan with slightly more warmth, yet it was only a little bit. Playing hard to get is a necessary skill for a courtesan to master. The Princevan was quite taken by this tactic. Gradually, I found growing affection in his eyes. A different kind of affection than before. In the past, Princesan regarded Jia merely as a plaything that stirred his desire for conquest. Yet between conqueror and conquered, emotions are all too easily born. Moreover, Jia possessed unparalleled beauty, rare in all the world. Princesan found himself unwittingly falling for her. Even when Prince Ning occasionally sent gifts to Jia, he no longer flew into jealous rages. Jia never hid these matters from him, leaving all the gifts for him to handle as he pleased. This made Princesan believe that Jia, too, held affection for him in her heart. They were a loving couple in this world, only waiting for the great cause to be accomplished, to share prosperity together. Jia did not shatter this fantasy of his. Instead, she gave him more illusions, making him sink deeper and deeper. At last, the Princevan no longer held any reservations toward her. Sometimes he would even bring his trusted aides to Jia's place to discuss matters. Among these confidants, one particular individual caught my attention. It was the commander of the Imperial Guards. The young man was tall and well-built, with slightly dark skin and rather handsome features. He looked somewhat familiar, but I just couldn't recall who he was. Jia would sometimes secretly gaze at him in a daze. Though I was only 16 in age, I'd actually lived for over 40 years. Perhaps it was due to aging memory that he didn't pursue the matter further. As Princesan made his moves, the court situation grew increasingly turbulent and unpredictable. Meanwhile, Prince Ning's faction showed no signs of backing down either. The two forces engaged in a covert struggle, neither willing to admit defeat. I waited anxiously with Jia for that day to arrive. I had thought this time I could stay by her side all along. Little did I know, change would always barge in uninvited. Just moments after leaving Chunfeng Tower, I was kidnapped. The one who ordered my kidnapping was Yi Yunqiao. Rongji is indeed so jealous, even picking an ugly one like this as her confidant. When Yi Yunqiao saw me, she covered her mouth in disgust, bound and gagged. I could only lift my head to look at her. Then came a moment of dazed bewilderment. Apart from facial features, this person was almost identical to Jia in every other aspect. No wonder Prince Ning regarded her as a substitute. Yi Yunqiao giggled and tossed me a medicine bottle, her tone vicious and malicious. Take this and find a chance to smear it on Rongji's face. Though it won't kill her, it'll make her face fester and ruin her looks. Making her live in ugliness and humiliation is far more satisfying than killing her. Anyone who dares compete with me in beauty deserves such a fate. The nation is about to undergo great changes, yet she's still obsessively competing over who's more beautiful. No wonder Princesan was smitten with Jia, while Prince Ning never gave Yi Yunqiao a second glance, always treating her as a mere plaything, yet remaining unable to forget Jia. Apart from their similar figures, these two are as different as clouds and mud in every other aspect. Yi Yunqiao took my indifference as provocation. She gave a cold laugh, stroking her slender nails as she brought up my younger sister who was far away in Jinling. That sister of yours. Fostered at your uncle's house, she's only 10 this year. Such a flower-like age. What a pity. Should I wish her dead, she wouldn't last 3 days. Prince Ning dotes on me. He'd surely be willing to do me this small favor. When I left the Yihong pavilion, I was utterly distraught. Clutching the small medicine bottle tightly in my hand, Yi Yunqiao's words echoed in my ears. She threatened me with my little sister's life, forcing me to do this. But no matter what, I couldn't bear to harm my Jia. What should I do? I pondered many things along the way, yet I couldn't think of a perfect solution that satisfies both sides, and so I returned to Spring Breeze Tower with a heart full of worries. Just at that moment, I happened to see that the Princevan was absent, while Jia was nestled intimately with the commander of the Imperial Guards. "Ah Lan, how could it be you?" Jia exclaimed in shock, and in an instant, a long sword was pressed against my throat. "What are you holding in your hand?" Setting aside their intimacy, the Imperial Guard commander was the first to notice something amiss with me. He pried open my hand and found the medicine bottle. It was at this moment that I finally remembered who he was. But now was not the time for reminiscing. The medicine bottle opened, and the thick liquid inside flowed out. quickly corroding a hole in the wooden floor beneath. Gia recognized the contents of the bottle at a glance, her gaze toward me filled with anguish and despair. "This is the filthy stuff commonly used in brothels. Alan, I've treated you well, yet you sought to harm me." Her grief was overwhelming, her frail figure swaying unsteadily. Though I had no wish to hurt her, the item was indeed brought in by me, just as Yi Yunqiao had instructed. The blame lies solely with my foolish mind, unable to devise a solution that satisfied both sides. Thus, I was left speechless in my defense. Gia, who was so insecure, would surely never trust me again. The Imperial Guard commander didn't hesitate for a moment, delivering a swift chop with his hand. I nearly blacked out instantly. Yet in the moment before my eyes closed, I saw my Gia, kneeling in the distance, her face streaming with tears. With a trembling voice, she called out, "Mother, I had a dream." She had returned to the time when she was still alive in her previous life. There was a little boy in the neighborhood named Ainyo. In their childhood, Gia was taller than him and had a lively personality. She was the leader among the children and often protected him. Ainyo became her little shadow, wishing he could stick to her side all day long. It wasn't until after turning 7 that Ainyo gradually grew taller than Gia. Their roles reversed again, with him becoming her protector. That little boy once secretly came to me and said he wanted to protect Gia for his entire life. His dark skin took on a rosy hue beneath those childish vows. Back then, I dismissed it as mere children's talk. Never did I imagine that when we met again, the boy next door would become the Imperial Guard commander. Now he truly had the power to protect Gia for a lifetime. But there was an extra prince in between them. When I opened my eyes again, the carriage was jolting. I lay alone in the carriage, my neck still aching. Beside me lay a letter in silence, written in Gia's handwriting. The 4 large characters on the envelope leaped out at me, clearly written, "To be opened by Mother." So my daughter had recognized me long ago. That day, what she had said wasn't cool, but Mother. But why didn't she acknowledge me? Tears welled up in my eyes as I trembled while opening the envelope. The handwriting on the letter was delicate yet forceful, with tear stains dotting the paper. "To my dearest Mother, truth be told, I had my suspicions from the very first bite of that Osmanthus lotus root. I just didn't dare to be certain, until that day, when you took the knife for me and said to me like in childhood, 'Don't be afraid, Gia, Mother